Hello.
கேக்குது சார்.
வருதா?
அது
ஓகே.
சரி, இப்போ இதை நீங்க அப்லோட் பண்ணும்போது எடிட் பண்ணிடுவீங்களா? நம்ம இப்போ பேசின அனிமேஷன் முன்னாடி வந்த அனிமேஷன்லாம்.
அது எடிட்டிங் நீங்க தான் பண்ண. எனக்கு கட் பண்ண வரல அதில். அந்த ஸ்டுடியோவில் போய் பார்த்தேன்.
அட கொடுமையே. ஓகே சரி சார், பி ரெடி. கமல், நான் அவனை கீழே போடுறேன், திருப்பி உள்ள போடுறேன்.
சார் சொல்லிட்டு பண்ணுங்க.
20 seconds. சார் லைவ் போறேன்.
ஓகே.
Good evening, friends. The Pharma Duos welcome you to yet another episode of Pharma Duo Talks on a happy Sunday evening. Being a solo eclipse day in the morning, and we are in the evening with the Pharma Duo Talks on regulatory aspects. That is regulatory aspects in Indian pharma companies. That is going to be the topic of the day. And today we have a wonderful guest from Pfizer who is going to talk about the regulatory affairs. Now, to start with, I invite my another colleague, Dr. Satish Kumar, to give a few words on regulatory affairs. Then we'll invite the guest.
Yeah. Good evening. Good evening to all my social media friends and YouTube friends. And it's very nice to meet you in this beautiful evening. Every episode we are dedicating for a specific focus with a specific focus. Last week we had focused on the research aspects, being a research scholar, how to look into the publications and what are the important key points that we have to look around the publication of your findings. All those things we had looked in the last episode. This episode, as Dr. Shanmugaram told, it is being focused on the aspects of getting a job in regulatory affairs. Starting from the career, this regulatory affairs is having lot of importance, lot of job opportunities, a lot of career growth, all are available in this area of regulatory affairs. So I believe that if this episode is very keenly observed, we could able to get a clear idea about what this regulatory affairs is about. Many people in pharmacy is well aware of various aspects, but except this regulatory affairs. I do not know what is the reason. Maybe our curriculum in the past years or neglecting this regulatory affairs, or maybe it looks a very dry area. We people might not have focused on that too much. I don't know what is the reason it is, but we are little bit away from this regulatory affairs for a past few years. But in the recent days, it is very highly picking up. Many academic institutions had started a M-Pharm specialization with the regulatory affairs. and students are also very much interested to study this subject. The reason is there are lots of lucrative jobs around this regulatory affairs. This regulatory affairs mainly focuses on how to bring a drug to the market by legal means. Whatever the research we perform in the laboratory, whatever the preclinical studies may be, whatever the clinical studies, there are a lot of other legal aspects required for bringing a drug to the market. So, a group of people, in a short, a team works hard enough to bring every molecule into the market in the form of a formulation. So in that direction, we must aware of what is this regulatory affairs, or what happens inside the industry with this regulatory affairs department. So for that, I think that today's guest, Dr. Kamal Raj, will be a very interesting person who is working for more than a decade of time in regulatory affairs. So with these few words, I'm giving over the session to Dr. Shanmugha Sundaram to carry forward.
Yeah, it's time to introduce our guest for the day. That is Dr. Kamal Raj. He is working in regulatory affairs section in Pfizer company, and he is an alumni of Wales. So he was studied his B.Pharm in Wales College of Pharmacy, and when Wales was affiliated to Tamil Nadu India University. Then he continued his PG, that is M.Pharm in pharmaceutical chemistry in Wales, and completed his PhD in Wales when it was under the banner of Wales University, that is Wales Institute of Science, Technology and Advanced Studies. My traveling with Kamal Raj began when he was in 4th year of his B.Pharm. Actually, in 2005 when I joined Wales, he was in the final year student, and from that time itself I am observing he was a very good student. He used to be doing a lot of research, especially he started his B.Pharm project in pharmacognosy lab. That time he used to interact with them. So later on, he joined pharmaceutical chemistry. I was the editor in that particular period. So he was doing chemistry under our for 2 years, and he was having a good rapport. And he has completed his PhD under Dr. Vijayandi, the current editor of Department of Chemistry and Analysis in Wales Institute of Science and Technology. So apart from this also, what is his abilities? If you see, means he has done a MPhil and he has done a MBA, and I think he is pursuing a PhD in management studies also. I'm not exactly sure, but so I think we can hear it from him. So, and he has been after his college in M.Pharm, and he has joined as in Aspira actually. Now Aspira is taken over by Pfizer. So currently he is continuing in Pfizer as a regulatory affairs section person. So I think it is over to Dr. Kamal Raj to have a self-introductory aspect of him for a few minutes. Then we'll have his travel in regulatory affairs in Indian pharma company. Okay, over to Dr. Kamal Raj.
Thank you. Very good afternoon to all, and thanks for the brief introduction as well as bringing back the memories, Dr. Professor Shanmugha Sundaram. The thing is, like a small correction, I am part of quality department in Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, not in the regulatory guy. So I started my career after my M.Pharm in clinical research organization. There I worked for a regulatory affairs team. Then when I moved to an Aspira, I just started my career in quality department. I just worked in various departments in Aspras in Pfizer, starting from chemical quality, then from technology transfer, followed by R&D piece, now in quality piece. Now currently I am leading the audit and inspection readiness for pharmaceutical sciences in India sites. So this is my professional background, and so it's very keen and it's honor to be a guest and to have a talk with you all.
So now I invite Dr. Satish to have a few interaction with Dr. Kamal Raj, and after that Kamal Raj is going to present us with a small presentation on regulatory affairs. So now over to Dr. Satish for 1 or 2 questions, then Kamal Raj will be presenting his screen.
Yeah, it's very interesting to know your professional background, that you are being with the quality assurance team, and quality assurance team is also very closely working with regulatory affairs its teams. So you may be having a very clear light on that aspect. So, how is your entry into the pharmaceutical industry from after completing of B Farm or M Farm? When you how you entered into the pharmaceutical industry, which is your first job? Please, can you elaborate about it?
So after my completion of my M.Pharm, directly I joined in a contract research organization. It will be responsible for BA/BE studies. So when I complete my M.Pharm, I just got an opportunity nearby the institution, which is closely linked to our college. So with help of our professors, I got a chance to meet MD of Coast Life Sciences. There he given offer a job. So by this only we just entered into that field of BA studies. So there I worked as an quality assurance as well as the regulatory guy. So it's like an now maybe a regulatory, each and every organization having a separate regulatory affairs team. But in those days, the quality as well as regulatory will be and bind together. So there will be a separate organization called regulatory. So as a quality guy, we will be directly filing the documents to the regulatory authorities. So by the way, I was very close to regulatory authorities and how we are filing and what are all the aspects which is be in that regulatory aspects. I will be familiar by this way only.
Yeah, you correctly said, Dr. Kamal. Actually, in olden days, a decade before, there were in companies there is no such department called as regulatory affairs. Usually, this quality assurance and quality control department will take care of this documentation work also. That was my knowledge about that industry. In big industries, maybe in like companies like Glenmark and all those companies, there was a separate regulatory affairs. But most of the medium type companies, they used to have this quality assurance and this regulatory affairs department together. Later, as there is a lot of importance required for documentation, the regulatory affairs department has been separated, and in most of the companies now they have a separate department called as regulatory affairs. Am I correct, Dr. Kamal?
Exactly, Dr. Satish. It's like exactly what you said is true and fact. So those days, the requirements and regulations are very limited. So that's the reason most of the medium-sized Indian pharmaceutical industries are not having a separate department for regulatory affairs. Now, in India, so many multinational companies are started in India, and they started a separate unit of regulatory affairs, separate department for regulatory affairs. Well, because they are supplying the drugs throughout the world. So each and every country is having the different regulations, rules and regulations. So to fulfill the documentation requirements and to fulfill the registration or to increase the speed up the registration, they framed a separate regulatory affairs department nowadays. So as I said, still most of the small, medium-sized Indian pharmaceutical companies are running with quality as a regulatory team, and some of the multinational companies are having a separate regulatory affairs team.
Yeah, great. So now I like to know what are the aspects, or now you can give your presentation what this regulatory affairs is actually, and what is happening around this department, and how this quality assurance department and others are connected with the regulatory affairs, and what is the general procedure and protocol being followed in the regulatory affairs for submission of documents. Can you give a presentation over it?
Yeah, sure. Before going to the presentation, I just give a background about the regulatory. So regulatory affairs team is nothing but which act as an interface between the industry as well as the regulating authorities. So there is, as we earlier discussed, there is no separate team previously, but now we are having regulatory affairs special teams. The objective of the team framed is to have a close interaction with the regulatory authorities and also internally within the team, like regulatory affairs will be closely working starting from drug discovery to post-marketization. It's like it will be a wide area, so it will interact with all the departments in the industries, like starting from drug discovery, research and development, manufacturing, quality control, quality assurance, as well as the clinical trials. So the major job of the regulatory affairs team is to collect the data from the various department function and coordinate and compile the data. And those data will be registered to various regulatory authorities. This was the major job of regulatory affairs teams in India.
Okay, Kamal, now you can proceed with your presentation. Share your screen.
Yeah,
so the viewers can see your presentation.
So once again, I just welcome you all for a presentation on regulatory aspects of Indian pharma. So before I enter into this presentation, I just want to convey some of the experience what I have. So everyone now the world was expecting a drugs for COVID-19 from India. So and most of the persons, even in our department or public, they just come and ask me when the new drug for COVID will come into the picture, or when we can start, when we are going to give a medicines, when it will be hospitalized, or when it will be commercialized. So when can everyone can easily get the drugs. So when Dr. Shanmu Sundaram asked about to give a presentation on regulatory aspects of Indian pharma, so immediately I accept and I thought to give a presentation like on how the new drug will be get approved. What are the hurdles behind this to get approved, and what will be the step-by-step process which is involved in this approval process. Another thing, why particularly we just made on regulatory aspects of Indian pharma is like each and every country will have an different regulatory agencies and they're having their own regulatory rules and regulations. For example, if you consider some US, there is having an US FDA, for UK, MHRA, for Europe, EMA, for Australia, TGA. Like that, each and every country having its own rules and regulation as well as the regulatory governing bodies. And WHO will be the lead for all these regulatory bodies. So for India particularly, CDSO is the regulatory body. So WHO declares CDSO as a functional. It will be a national regulatory authority for India. So CDSO is a regulatory authority for Indian pharmaceutical markets. So before going to the like what will be the approval process, I just want to share something about an Indian pharmaceutical market. So everyone knows that today, as on today, the Indian pharmaceutical market is an booming market. So up to March 2020, the market value is like $13.69 billion. So, but after this COVID situation, the world around the world will expect the drugs from India. Maybe it may get boost from 13.69 to $20 billion. So, growth of the pharmaceutical market is 10 to 13% per year. So this 10 to 13% per year is from last 2019 to 20. Maybe we are expecting another 3% increase because of these COVID situations. So our pharmaceutical market will be the 14th largest in value and 4th largest in volume. So usually our exports will be around 90,050 USD millions, and import will be 22,200 USD millions. So in India, we are having most of like more than 100 US FDA approved manufacturing sites. So we are just manufacturing and we are exporting the drugs to various countries and specifically to US. So our total number of manufacturing license issued for Indian market is more than 10,000. So in India, we are having more than 10,000 pharma manufacturing companies. Drug regulations. So why this drug regulation is required? So these all regulations and the regulatory bodies are mandatorily framed to ensure the safety efficacy of the drugs. So we just want to give drugs which will be a quality drug to the patient. That's a major agenda behind this drug regulations framing. So we will see the definition for the drug regulation. Drug regulation is the control of drug used by the international agreement by regulatory authorities such as US FDA for Europe, US FDA for US, Europe Medical Agency for Europe, and Japanese Pharmaceutical and Medical Device Agency for Japan, and CDSO for India. This includes regulation concerned with development, approval, and manufacturing and marketing of the drugs. So the major agenda for this regulation is to control of drug use by the regulatory authorities. There should be some control. So by this way only the drug should be distributed or manufactured or will be get treated. That's the reason the overall definition objective. So if you see the to one CDSO. So once the form is received, a preliminary evaluation for completeness will be verified by the CDSO. So once when they are verifying the preliminary evaluation, all the record details are get fulfilled, then that they will be sent as those applicant to regulatory evaluation of applications. If that application doesn't meet the preliminary evaluation, there will be deficiencies, then this application will be sent back. Everything is met. The regulatory evaluation will be the next step. So what they will do? So if it is a new drug, so they directly they don't have on clinical trials, then they will see they will give a permission to conduct the BE, or they will give a permission to conduct the clinical trials. So in case if it is an clinical trials, a subject expert committee review need to be done. So there will be a separate ethical committee need to be formed under the Rule 17. Then based on the subject expert committee review, there will be a no objection certificate will be provided for conduct the BA/BE studies or clinical trials. So once that particular stages has got completed, the data will be submitted and the review of this BA/BE RCT reports will be reviewed. And if the data will be got satisfactory, then CDSO will come for on-site facility inspections in case if required. This is the one part, and in other part, the manufacturing of CMC data. So if the CMC data has got satisfactory, then they will move on to the IPC testing and no objection certificate to the applicant. So once the IPC test report are compliant with the specification, then they will be directly come for on-site facility inspections. So this will be the overall process for the new drug substance or drug product. So as I said earlier, there will be a minor change in the new drug approval process. Until 2018, Drug and Cosmetic Act, specifically Schedule Y, which deals with the manufacturing of new drugs. So after 2019, a new drugs and clinical trial rule enforce, which will have on minor changes. We will see what will be the minor changes in the following slides. So the regulation of new drugs and clinical trial rule 2019, what it means, what its applicability. These rules shall apply to all the investigation of new drugs for clinical trials, bioequivalence study, bioavailability study, and regulation of ethics committee relating to clinical trial and biomedical health research. So this specific rule, which will be applicable for all the categories, starting from new drug to until the biomedical health research. So it will give one guidance to. So the definition of new drug, it seems, has got modified. So why? Because as stated in the Schedule Y, the new drug definition, it seems modified to any novel drug delivery system, living modified organism, monoclonal antibody, stem cell, gene therapy product, etc. So in Schedule Y, they incorporated and modified the new drug definition, it seems. What's new in this new drug and clinical trial rules? So they included bioavailability study, they included bioequivalence study, biomedical and health research, pharmacovigilance, post-trial assess, and similar biologics. So previously we don't have much guidance for this specific areas. So now in this drug and clinical rules, they're just given a clear process. So what will be the highlights in this? So general principles and practice for clinical trials was introduced. A requirement and guidelines for permission to import or manufacture of a new in case of unmet medical needs. Pharma to determine the quantum of composition in case of clinical trials related injury or permanent disabilities are major highlights of this new drug and clinical trial rule 2019. So this will be an overall regulatory pathway for all the category from starting from clinical trial, biomedical research, BA/B studies, import of new drugs and manufacturing of new drugs. So in year